Hi there everybody, Flash Rasman here with a very special preview of Falling Frontier, a sci-fi RTS which is due out in Q2 2022, this year basically. First of all, thanks very much to the developers and of course the publishers for including me in their list of content creators, because they've given me a link to a Google Drive that's got an awful lot of coverage in it, and it's beautiful. And I'm going to be, over the next couple of videos, I'm going to be sharing some of that with you. So what is Falling Frontier? Press back. Conquer vast procedure-generated star systems in Falling Frontier, a sci-fi RTS where intel and logistics are decisive factors. Design ships and raid enemy supply lines, lay minefields and construct recon stations, and ambush enemy forces in an asteroid and nebula. It's an RTS game, but it's got everything. It's got so many elements of 4X type gaming with supply line management, resource gathering, and it is a beautiful game. Falling Frontier has been in development now for about 3 years, and it's a one-man development team by a developer called Todd Darcy, who's based down in Melbourne. And like I said, it's not just ship-to-ship combat. It's got, as I'll be able to show you over the next couple of videos, it's got everything. It's got, like I've already said, it's got base building, it's got ship design, it's got logistical management, it's got basically lots of 4X elements. So over the next couple of videos, I'm going to show you more footage from the game. On the next video, we're going to go more into the different elements of the game, the kind of exploration element, the search of the scenario creators. Again, you can create your own star systems. So go over more of the next video. Go over more of the game mechanics. But in this video, we're going to look at actually what is a core game about and what my first impressions are. And the best way to do that is if we let the developer himself tell us what the game's about. So without further ado, let's listen to Mr. Todd Darcy.
Hey there, my name's Todd Darcy. I'm the solo developer at Starter Fox Studios, and for the past 3 years I've been working on a game called Falling Frontier. It's a sci-fi strategy game that just mixes the close action of naval combat as well as the grand scale of building throughout a star system. It focuses heavily on line of sight mechanics and really visceral combat systems that are layered upon each other. So you'll see projectiles bouncing off of ships, penetrating the...
First impressions when you watch this clip is how beautifully stunning it is. But as I said in the introduction, it is not just about ship-to-ship combat. It is that grand strategy element to it. It's as much. It seems to be as much about building your logistics to support your fleet as much as it's about the battles themselves. But it just looks amazing. It's a one-man development team as well.
Whole way through, oxygen venting out the other side. You'll see crew trying to get out, and you'll see these really large explosions, and the ships just get torn apart by physics, and they go everywhere. It's fantastic to watch. There's a whole bunch of celestial bodies and a whole range of other places to explore, like a nebula. Ships travel faster than light.
Again, it also seems like you're going to get lots of different areas, whereas in a traditional like land-based RTS we'd have like hills, fields, trees, woods to fight in. It seems like you've got a lot of different types of space to fight in, like above planets, in nebulas, in asteroids. It seems like you're going to get a lot of variety in the different places where you will be able to fight your battles and do the logistics and resource gathering elements of the game.
Right, they have to jump between points and they consume fuel. Crew have to eat, so they consume food, and of course ships spend munitions whenever they fire. So there's all of these logistical considerations to actually think about when you're actually playing the game.
Like I said, it feels to me as if it's going to be a game of two halves. That's terrible cliche, but it's going to be about as much as about. It's not going to be a case of you just like mine some more, build a gazillion warships, off you go, fight, done, and then you got lots of fighting and logistics all in itself. It almost feels as if you're going to have to do as much work on actual building up behind the scenes as you are actual physical combat. So it feels to me it's not just going to be about space battles, it's going to be a lot of supply lines, making sure Colony A has got enough materials to do this and the other. It's making sure your underlying infrastructure is there to support your war fleet. That's the impression I get anyway.
So it's got a lot of the classic things that you would find in a normal RTS, like base building. But it also borrows different elements from the 4X genre, such as ship design, and you can actually come into this ship editor and you can change the different types of weapons that you put on a ship. These all get unlocked via research, and you can just have these custom configurations to just really suit your actual purposes for your
again 4X. And this alone, because I've watched this a few times so I can get my head around what I want to say, but just this alone could keep you busy, just messing about redesigning ships. It's almost as if you could completely redesign ships and every time you play through. But again, it's all about the whole big picture from managing your resource all the way through to building your ships to actually go out and doing combat.
Flotillas. Further to that, you've also got ship internals as well. So every ship has a bridge, crew quarters, jump drive, engines, stuff like that. And again, you can unlock different components and
I love how beautiful and simple it looks, even though just go through this ship design, it's just a lot to do and a lot to think about. But if you look at the graph, if you just look at the layout of it, you look at the UI, it just looks so clean. It just looks so simple. You're not getting a whole stack of numbers thrown at you. You're not getting charts of data everywhere. You're not getting number blind. You've got a nice, simple, clean interface that looks user-friendly. It doesn't look too scary, and it's important because this is a massive grand strategy game. And you've got a lot of the types of games, you open up and you go, oh my god, there's about 1 billion numbers here, and it becomes very intimidating. But this just looks really, really user-friendly.
And apply these to every ship just to have a really unique, customized flotilla. But you can also add special abilities like the ability to lay a minefield, or perhaps attach a ship to maybe the underside of an asteroid so it can lay in wait and perhaps do a bit of an ambush, or perhaps do a bit of
looks like that. The amount of different choices you can make, the amount of different choices you can make means that you can, as I said on, you come up with so many different designs, but also it could be really critical in the game, the decisions you make in this design your ship. There must be so many chances of actually configuring something wrong or not putting the right weapons on to meet the enemy you've got. It's just this alone gives the impression there's so much scope to it.
There's really a whole bunch of different options, and it's just really exciting just to have all of these things jammed into sort of an old school RTS. As well, you've got crew, so you've got both enlisted and also command crew. So command crew are really important. They are physical objects on the actual ships, so they can be killed, injured, and they can also be upgraded too, so they can learn perks and skills that will enhance the ships.
Now, In all the videos I've watched this as I've been prepared to do these videos, the one thing I've noticed that how important your crew are and how important your civilians are, and it comes very much comes across that you've got to cherish this crew, this experienced crew you've got in these ships that can that you can upskill. It's almost like an RPG, almost where as you've got a crew of a ship and you develop that crew, they get better skills. It becomes a greater loss if you actually get them killed. So also kind of, I get the impression that it will also have to make you think about when you're sending a ship in, what are you sending it into, and what are the consequences if you lose that ship in combat. What are the effects on the rest of your fleet? If you've got your most experienced crew in a ship and they get blown up and they're all dead, how's that going to affect your ability of the rest of your fleet to survive that experienced crew? It just kind of makes me wonder how big an element that could be in the game, as in kind of keeping your crews, your most experienced crews, safe, so that you can better your fleet overall can better function.
And here we've got a ship just jumping into the combat area. As mentioned previously, they are physicalized objects, so they're going to push through different asteroids. Projectiles will.
This is where line of on the when he talked about start game right at the start of the video, he talked about line of sight, and essentially, as we've seen this video, the ship at the bottom, in the bottom of the picture, is clearly going to attack that spaceport, but that spaceport couldn't see it because it was hidden behind the boulders. So again, this shows you that it's not just going to be a case of you're going to stand opposite. You're going to have one ship on one side of your screen, there's a ship on the other side, and they're going to fight in a straight line at each other. It shows it kind of hints that you can use the terrain or the objects around you to give you an advantage in combat. As in here, you get the impression the ship at the bottom has hidden under these asteroids so the starship can't see it, and then as that other ship, as if you also see it's still flying straight through an asteroid. I'd be intrigued as to whether you get damaged, your ships get damaged by flying through asteroids. I wonder if that's a mechanism where you can just gleefully fly through anything you want to. I'd be intrigued in that as to whether combats in asteroid fields, you're in as much danger from the asteroids as you are from the other ships. I'd be intrigued as to what the impact on your ship is of flying through a great big rock like he's just done.
Bounce off of space stations and ships. Some will penetrate through and cause internal damage. Ships can be disabled or they can be destroyed depending upon what kind of damage they actually take. So you'll see ships just starting to lose control and just sort of list away into the distance. You'll see crew trying to actually just escape, which can be captured if it's an enemy crew, or they can be rescued if they're friendly crew. In the event that you capture crew, then they can be interrogated, and perhaps you can find out some different bits of information about your opponent's ship movements.
Again, that emphasises how important the crew is. So if you do send an experienced crew off into space, they get blown up and they get captured, what are the consequences for you if you lose crew to the enemy, and vice versa? What's the consequences for the enemy if you capture their crew? And also emphasises how important it will be to keep your crew safe, not to send them in too big a risk, not to send them into as cannon fodder into battles where a good chance you could lose them, because you're not just going to lose them, you could actually lose secrets that could affect your entire wider game. So it's going to make you think about how you use your crews, what you send them into, and what risk you take with them.
Or perhaps there are actual installations. So we can see this space station that's just been destroyed. You need a classic blue light for a big explosion.
Yeah, definitely do. Big blue explosions.
It's almost a requirement for a science fiction. And you just see this hulking mass just on fire with smoke and flames going everywhere. So yeah, that just kind of sums up what Falling Frontier is, just this visceral space combat experience. Thank you for taking the time to check this out, and yeah, just look forward to seeing you in game. Thank you so much.
There are three elements to the game. From the start, you can see you've got the main game, Titan Rising. You've then got, which is obviously the main game. Wait for it to move over to the next one. We've then got Cyano Creator, which we will look at in my next video because it looks very, very good. And then we've got Skirmish Mode, which there's not a lot of detail on Skirmish Mode. Skirmish Mode could be one-off fights if you just do want to have a fight, ship-to-ship combat. Skirmish Mode could be just that, but there's no details on that at all. But hook and tease, we'll cover Scenario Creator in the next one. But right now, let's look at some coverage of some in-game coverage from the main game, Titan Rising.
Welcome to the first reveal of Titan Rising campaign gameplay. The Cold War between Mars and Titan has stretched decades now. You are the commander of the Titan Federation vessel Pinnacle, on your way home to Titan after a diplomatic mission to Ganymede. In need of resupply, you set a course for Anders Station, a port hidden within the billowing clouds of an asteroid cluster known as the Forge.
First off, there's no details as to where Earth is in this situation, just Mars Titan. So you've got no clue as to what's happened, what the snow is. There's no history behind it. As we can see, the year's 2245, so intrigued to know what the background is to this Cold War. But secondly, just look at that. Just look at that map. It's like pea soup. My first impressions, but my first thought with this is that it must be very difficult to hide in there. Just turn the volume down. It must be very difficult if to detect where the enemy are in there, because as we can barely see. We can barely see above. Below the ships we can see. So if we can't see, there's guns. Obviously, that ship's coming on. There's guns. But if you get another spaceship on a different plane, a lower plane, you can sneak under that. It's just so beautiful, so graceful. I have muted it just because I couldn't hear myself. But the music underneath, the music is so dramatic. That plays underneath the game. It's just beautiful. It's so dramatic. Again, look there. We could barely see that. We could barely see that ship coming out. And so again, if you're an enemy, if we were attacking that, you'd be going, well, actually, I'm going to come in from in the bottom corner where nobody can see me. I suppose then it depends. I suppose it would then depend on how good object clarity. So that's what you can see. So I wonder what the penetration. I wonder what like scanners and sonar radar is like, if that's such a thing. But again, if you see in the top corner, ships just seem to be able to fly, straight through rocks without any kind of pressure or any kind of damage to the ship. Again, I'm also struck how simple the design is. How beautifully simple the interface is. What I've been intrigued of is to how you control the ship, whether it's kind of you have to manually do WASD to drive it, or you just kind of click a path for it. I mean, if you don't have to worry, if you don't get impact damage from an asteroid, just fly straight through them, like he's going to do there. It doesn't seem to damage your ship, so I'm assuming that. I'd love to know if that's a game mechanic. I believe it's going to be on early access when it does go live. It is going to be on early access, from what I understand. But I would be intrigued to know what the impact damage is on ships flying through asteroids, because surely if you fly through an asteroid, it's going to have some kind of effect on you. But this is quite a this mission seems to be fairly pedestrian, fairly slow. Doesn't seem a lot going on other than you getting to the spaceship hidden in this asteroid field. In this next clip, we're going to join Todd as he discusses a search and rescue mission.
Welcome to the world of Falling Frontier. It's a grounded sci-fi world filled with detail and activity. Here we have Ride Station. It's a way station in orbit above Saturn's moon Titan. A way station gives the player the ability to offload some tasks performed by a shipyard, such as repair, rearmament, recrewing, and resupply. Currently, there are 2 ships docked at Ride Station, a Hanno-class destroyer Pinnacle and the Crate-class battlecruiser Fatan. There's currently a search and rescue operation in a nearby asteroid field that requires my attention. Neither ship is equipped for such a specialized operation, so I'll make a change to the Pinnacle.
I liked how there you could change the crew. It kind of like gives you the impression you could move your crew between ships. If you've got experienced crew, you could maybe then split experienced crew up to dot them out around more inexperienced crew. As a random thought.
And deploy it to the field. The Hanno is a ship of Titan design, built at the shipyards above Europa. Like all ships in Falling Frontier, it can be used for many purposes. The ship designer gives the player the freedom to play how they want to. There's no right or wrong way to play, just choices and their consequences.
Again, we come back to this idea that there's no, as you heard yourself, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You pretty much got a sandbox where you can do what you want and build what you want in any way, which way you want to, and then just take the consequences of the choices you make, and it just sounds absolutely fantastic.
I'll select the search and rescue module for the ship and initiate the upgrade process. Usually the upgrade process would take some time, but
again, I'm struck how simple the UI, the user interface is, how simple and everything. A lot of these big grand strategy games, you look at the interface and you're just blown away by the amount of numbers you've got to look at, and this just seems to be very, very simple. As simple is good.
It's been accelerated for this demonstration. Falling Frontier is all about providing data to the player and allowing the player to make the next move. The capture of an enemy's crew is just one of many mechanisms the player can use to acquire information. So it's only going to be naturally important to also recover your crew if you can do so.
We come back to how important your crew is and how important it is you actually keep them safe. Again, but that it's a whole risk and consequence thing again. It's all about, it comes across as being about what level of risk you take as to what level of risk you put your crews in, as to the consequences, and then accepting the consequences of the risk you've taken. So if you then put your crew into a fight where they're completely outgunned, the consequences of you losing that fight could be catastrophic, I would assume. And I think that's where the kind of it's kind of getting that balance between taking risks and taking undue risks, and the consequences of if those risks don't come off.
Here we have the Pinnacle that we upgraded earlier. It now has a unique ability to launch reconnaissance probes that will return data of the surrounding area.
I wonder if, obviously this is a search and rescue mission, but I wonder if you can actually recover downed spacecraft, because obviously that's if that's a friendly ship that's been destroyed. I'm sure we're looking at the mission is to look for the crew of the ship, but I wonder if you can actually recover the ship as well. I'm intrigued if you could do, because I'm assuming these things are expensive to build. As part within games, I'm assuming you'd want to try and recover wreckages if you could do.
Just like in the ocean on Earth, lifeboats drift from their last known position. Over time, finding these lifeboats can become incredibly challenging in the black of space. Command crew will potentially offer different types of information under interrogation, depending on both their type and a special characteristic called renowned.
Again, I would be love to know if there's impact damage, because he's just barreled through two massive asteroids, and I'd be intrigued to know whether there was impact damage from that. Because I would have thought there must be to hit something that big without any consequences at all. But I'd love to understand what the game mechanic is behind that.
An officer with low renown will be more likely to offer information. However, what they provide can be less accurate, whereas an officer with high renown will be less likely to provide any information at all, but when they do, it has a higher chance of being far more reliable. All of these elements loop back into the risk and reward system Falling Frontier is built upon, whether that be information acquisition, or the physicality of combat and the aftermath it leaves in its wake.
Risk and reward again. It comes back to it comes back again to accepting the consequences of the risks you take. So if you send in ships into combat, you've got to be 100%. You've got to be pretty sure you're going to win, because if you lose, not only do you lose the battle, the ship, but you also could potentially lose your crew. Worse still, your crew could end up getting captured, and the more experienced they are, the bigger the bigger the risk of them giving away some valuable secrets. Plus, by then that also works the other way again. So if you capture enemy crew, then the same consequences exist for them.
In that aftermath, the opportunity for salvage or information gathering can usually be carried out. Your crew can help in that process. They can undergo training programs that allows them to advance in their own personal skill tree, further enhancing the operational function and status of their ship. The captain has...
This is where you get that RPG element in, where if you're upskilling your crew, making them better, therefore they become more valuable. They're not just kind of nameless pixels they're not nameless pixels, but they're not just nameless people in a ship. They're actually people that are actually important, because you're investing time to improve them in their particular skill slot, which makes them more valuable, which then would probably have a consequence on how you then use them and their ship in combat. So you almost then, rather than just sending, for example, this ship, the Pinnacle, off on some random mission, if he gets killed, you can build another one. Well, this time, in other games, I said you would send it off, it would destroy, just go and build another one. But this time now, you're not just losing the ship, it's the time you've put into actually upskilling the crew of that ship that you lose as well. So therefore, it'll make you think a lot more about how you use the assets you've got, because the consequences of losing them now is so much bigger, because you lose particularly experienced crew. Take a long time. You can replace a ship, but how fast can you replace an experienced crew?
There's unique information unavailable to all other crew members. If captured, they may reveal the locations of installations and ships in the local sector. A higher ranking captain or admiral, however, may provide information that is star system wide. The navigator has knowledge of where the ship has been or where it is headed, and may reveal that information under interrogation. They may also reveal common patrol routes of allied ships. The engineer may reveal information related to general technology levels, as well as information relating to logistical operations in the local sector. The gunnery officer may reveal details of common ship weapons configurations, as well as defensive locations in the local sector. Falling Frontier is about choice and consequence, risk and reward. Leaving crew to die in the black of space will have economic impacts on your war machine.
So this then feeds into this then feeds it. What feeds into? But this then. So at one level you've got, at the high level you've got a view of your whole star system sector, wherever you're in, where you're trying to build a supply chain and logistical support to connect your entire star system together, so that all your colonies are supplied with food. You've got resources to supply your war fleet. But then at the lowest level, you've also got this human RPG element where you've got individual crew members that you've got to upskill, to improve, to make your ships better, and then you've got to manage that. You've always got to manage that as well. So it's not just about managing at the high level. It's about actually all the way down to your individual ships and the crews on those ships, and the consequences of losing those crews. It's not, again, as I've just said, it becomes not just about losing a ship and building another one. It's not just about building 10 massive battle cruisers, whatever they are, and sticking random crew in them. It's about building. It's not only about building ships, but it's actually putting decent and experienced crews in those ships to make them better, perform better, and give you a better chance of success. And resource management isn't just about managing ores and food. It's also the resource management of managing the civilians and the crew as well at the same time. So it kind of takes on a different element, a different challenge.
It can also lead to other catastrophic events well beyond what you ever anticipated.
I'd love to know what they are, because it makes it sound as if if you do lose crew or they get captured, it could be massively serious for you, and it's almost of a doom and gloom type warning to you that if you do not look after your own people, you're going to pay the consequences. And as we see here, this is maybe the consequences of not looking after your crew, because the starbase has been destroyed and the entire planet looks like it's been nuked. And then you've got your classic blue explosion, but are these the catastrophic consequences of you failing to look after your crew? I'll just pause it just because I think that's just a beautiful picture to end on. I'm really excited about this game because, as I said earlier, the stupid amount of footage that I've been given access to, it just fills me full of excitement about what this game could be. It's not just a casual RTS, build a few spaceships, have a big space battle, woohoo. It's a lot. It's got a massive 4X type element to it, where you've not just got to manage your resources as in ores, metals and fuel and food. You've got to manage your human resources as well, and it's not just about spamming out building a house to get 20 new civilians. It's about actually taking ownership of the individual crews and actually taking interest in how you upskill those individual crews to make your ships better. And then it's the consequences how you then use those ships you've built with the crews you've put in them to make sure that you don't lose those experienced crews, and then the consequence of you losing those experienced crews because you've mishandled a battle, or you've not fought through where you're sending them, or you've not sent them enough support or whatever, and the decisions you then make become catastrophic, as we can see here, because if you then lose an experienced crew, you can replace the ship, but can you replace the crew? And that's the type of thing that I'm intrigued to see how that pans out. So it adds a lot more human element to it. But anyway, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, because I'm really excited about this. I think it could be a fantastic game. In the next episode, we're going to look at the game mechanics and actually get into what features there are and what how the game mechanics actually work a bit more kind of detailed looks. We're going to a few more. There's a lot more coverage I've been sent that allowed me to get into things like the feature overview, exploration and operations, and the economics and the scenario creator, because the scenario creator looks rather good. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. Get on. I'd urge you, get onto Steam, wishlist it, because it looks amazing. It's a one-man dev team, and that's pretty damn impressive what he's built so far. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I shall press play and allow you to watch this planet being blown to bits as we close out. Thanks very much for watching, and as ever, I shall see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.